Hiring a divorce lawyer can be a very difficult thing, and for a lot of people, it's the first time they've ever had to hire a lawyer. So you want to be sure you have a lawyer who's the right fit for you, your communication style, your personality, your goals, and the issues in your case. So I'm going to walk you through 10 questions we suggest you ask any divorce lawyer before you hire them, including us. The first question I think you should ask is, do you exclusively practice family law? And what I mean by that is, the lawyer who handled your traffic ticket may be a great person and a great lawyer, but in traffic court, have they actually gone to family court? Have they resolved any complex issues regarding retirement or your house or done a custody case before? So you should ask, does this person do family law? If you want to go a level past that, you can ask, are you a specialist in family law? Here at Triangle Smart Divorce, we have 5 specialists in family law, and we work together as a team. So even if the lawyer you hire isn't a specialist, odds are that a specialist is going to touch your case at some point during our weekly case reviews when we go over any stuck issues or difficult things that are coming up in a case. Second question you should ask is, how responsive are you to my communications? You don't want a lawyer that you send emails to and they sit in their inbox for a week or more at a time. But that being said, you do need to understand that you're not the only case the lawyer has. They may be in court for someone else. But here, we have a team. So if you copy your paralegal on the email, the paralegal is going to see this email. They might respond to you and say, I'm sorry, this lawyer's in court for the next 2 days. This isn't an emergency, and we will get back to you as soon as possible. But if it is an emergency, they'll go pull in one of our other lawyers and say, hey, can you help me with this? Because lawyer X is in trial and this client really needs an answer. So understand that there's a balance here going on. There are important questions, there are urgent questions, and there are emergency questions. And when you have a team involved, we can triage those things and we can act accordingly. If you hire someone to be your divorce lawyer that's a true solo, they answer the phone, they're the one that goes to court, they're the one that checks their email, there's no one else to answer for them if they're not available, you could have those emails, those phone calls, those text messages sit in one place for a while until this person can get back to you, instead of having a ready team able to respond. The third question is, what's your approach to divorce? In other words, is this attorney someone who files court first and then asks questions later? Or is it a one-size-fits-all kind of person? Every case gets treated the same. Because let's be honest, you're not the same as someone else. Your case is special and it's unique and it's your situation. So you don't want cookie cutter solutions. You want to know what the strategy is and how it's to your benefit to either go to court or to go to mediation or to wait and see if you can settle things without doing anything first other than maybe writing a letter and picking up the phone and talking to the other side. What is that person's strategy? Because you need to understand it and make sure it's a strategy that aligns with what you want. Question 4 is, do you enjoy being a divorce lawyer? Because let's face it, being a divorce lawyer, dealing with conflict and people going through traumatic times in their lives is very stressful work. So if you have a divorce lawyer who may be burnt out at the moment, maybe they're not going to be most effective for you. So if the lawyer will tell you how they really feel and say, you know, right now I can't take another litigation case because I've had so many of them, I need a break from them, you need to know that if you know your case may need to go to court. On the other hand, if somebody says, I love it when I can do creative solutions, and you don't want a creative solution, maybe that person's not right for you. So this question is more about you and the fit with the lawyer than anything else. What's their personality style? Does it align with what you want? If you have someone who's really happy about getting people divorced and you're sad and you don't want to be divorced, maybe it's going to be off-putting to you when they send you an email that says, congratulations, you got divorced today. You just need to know who you are and who's going to work best with you. The 5th question is, do you go to court first? In other words, are you hiring someone that's a bulldog litigator that's going to fight everything at every turn? Maybe that's what you think you want, but maybe it's not what you actually need. You've got to come to terms with what you actually need. But what I'm saying is, a lot of people say they want the most aggressive lawyer out there. And I'm suggesting that perhaps that's not what people really need or want. Maybe they need a very assertive lawyer, a lawyer that's going to stand up for them, but a lawyer that's solution-based and knows that court is the worst place we want to be most of the time, because in that situation, you give up all power and control over any outcome in your case and leave it all in the hands of a judge who's never met you, doesn't know what's important to you, and isn't there to fight for you, is just there to render a decision and move on to the next case based upon what they think is best for you and your family, without regard for what you want or what you think is best. So maybe you don't want someone who says, I go to court on every case and I'm successful and this is how many cases I've won, because also in divorce, nobody really wins. The sixth question is, what advice do you give most of your divorcing clients? And this question is important because it can help give you some insight into how your attorney thinks. Are they a long-term strategic thinker, or are they just dealing with whatever today's situation is? It can also help you see what they see are common mistakes, so you can get some actionable advice here from them before even getting started, because they can tell you what mistakes people made and how to help avoid those mistakes. It can also let you know whether or not they're wanting to give you some of this advice before you become a retained client, because that means that they're an attorney interested in giving value and not just worried about signups. The next question is, do you know my spouse's lawyer, or have you worked with them before? Now, I'm telling you to ask this question maybe for a reason that's different than you think. Maybe you think that it's good if the lawyers don't know each other, but actually, it's not. It's good if the lawyers do know each other and they have worked together before, because they may have inside information on each other that you're not privy to. Like, this lawyer knows that they can't ever get the other lawyer on the phone, but they can text them and they'll respond. Or maybe that lawyer knows that this lawyer is going to need a detailed chart to understand a settlement offer, not just words. So knowing the other lawyer and knowing how they work and knowing how they receive information can help you get better results faster. The eighth question is, what are my options for moving forward? And what I mean here is, does this lawyer understand that court isn't the be-all end-all, that there's settlement conferences, that there's mediation, that there's arbitration, there's collaborative law, and is this lawyer well versed in all those and able to represent you in any form of dispute resolution? Or are they someone that only goes to mediation and is going to hand it off to someone else if it has to go to litigation? You want to know this lawyer is going to be with you every step of the way. 9 is, what do you expect from me when you represent me? This question is important. It's really important, and here's the reason why. Because relationships don't go wrong, they start wrong. And so if you and your lawyer have misaligned expectations or poor communication with each other from the get-go, it's likely only going to go downhill from here. So you want to know in the beginning, does this lawyer expect me to respond to emails within 24 hours? Does this lawyer expect me to only communicate by email? Does this lawyer expect me to be available on little notice? Because you may be an active, busy person. You may have active and busy children, and that may not work for you. You may need a lawyer who's more proactive than that, and but for in emergency situations gives you a week or two's notice before they need information from you, even sometimes a month. You need to know, because if these expectations aren't aligned, then you've wasted a lot of time and energy in the beginning of your case to find out this isn't the right fit for you, and you have to change horses, and that can be expensive and time consuming. And the last question, number 10, is about billing and expectations there. Is this a flat fee firm? Are they going to charge you the same amount no matter how much work they do? Are they an hourly firm and they're only going to charge you for what's being done in your case? Are they some sort of hybrid of that and they do some task on a flat fee but some is hourly? It can be a combination of a lot of things in North Carolina, so you need to know so that you have clarity. This all should be spelled out in any retainer agreement that you're presented with, so if it's not, there's a red flag for you. But also ask how retainers work. Some law firms require you to pay a sum into the law firm and they hold it to the end of your case so that you don't, quote, stiff them with a bill. Other law firms like mine take an advance fee deposit and we bill against it as we do work in your case, asking you to replenish it so often. Kind of like a prepaid debit card, if you will, so that there's always a balance on there that covers what we anticipate your legal costs are going to be in the next 2 to 3 months. So just ask and know, because if you don't have clarity around this, it can be really confusing when you get your first bill. You should feel comfortable asking any or all of these 10 questions of any lawyer you're considering hiring. And if you don't, reflect upon that, because all of this is meant to help you find the right fit for you for what can be a long process. If the lawyer you're meeting with isn't willing to answer these questions, I think that's a red flag for you, and you need to consider whether that's the right person to work with you. Here at Triangle Smart Divorce, we're happy to answer any or all of them. Ask away, because we want you to know you're starting off on the right foot.